Come with me as I turbocharge my 4-cylinder swapped Toyota Supra. Toyota Tacoma engine, eBay turbocharger, 1982 Toyota Celica Supra. Let's go. All right, and the first thing I've got going here is I've got an exhaust manifold from LC Engineering. I've got some 90s and some T's. I'm gonna go ahead and make a super simple log style manifold, just something to get a turbo on the side of this engine, because I'd love to see it run. I got this turbo manifold pretty well welded up into a log. I do need a T3 flange, but before I even think about putting the turbo location on the manifold, I want to get my engine in the bay of the Supra so I know where in the engine bay the turbo is going to be sitting. I am also going to be modifying my oil pan today. So as you can see, I had to modify it already to get this 3RZ swapped into the Supra, but the truck engine is a little bit taller than needed for the car, and the bottom of this oil pan is getting obliterated. It's been completely smashed up. That's in like 1,000 miles. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off that I MIG welded on. I'm gonna cut this off, and I'm gonna get some plates mocked up, and then we're gonna get this thing welded up so I can get this 3RZ back in the Supra and get to doing some burnouts. Few minutes with an angle grinder later, and we have the remnants of an oil pan left. The oil pickup tube that used to sit about here, it's also going to need modified, so we're going to go ahead and put this on the engine just for a mock-up with the pickup tube and see where exactly this needs to go. Here is the original oil pickup tube. As you can see, it's a bit too big, so we're going to go ahead, we're going to start modifying this oil pickup tube to fit in this oil pan. You do want a little bit of clearance there because you don't want the oil cavitating. I got everything cut up, I got it modified, I got quite a bit cut off of this thing. It's just tacked in place, and I'm checking for clearance right now, and the clearance looks great. I'm super stoked on that. You can see there, you want 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and we've got that. I finished this pickup tube, and since it's done, I'm moving on to this oil pan. I got it all cleaned up everywhere I'm going to be welding. I've got all of these pieces cut out that are for the different openings in this thing. And there we go. That's a mock-up of our oil pan. And you can see here, I got a hole drilled in this for the drain plug. That's going to fit this. And on the other side, I've got this cut from the original oil pan. And I'm just going to put it on, screw it on, and once it's nice and tight, I'm going to tack it in place and just weld it. It is the next morning, and here's where we're at. Went ahead and I finished up the oil pan. It's a little rusty, it's drying out right now. I filled it with water last night and made sure it didn't leak. No leaks. As I was talking about how this oil pan was done, I forgot that I hadn't done the drain yet. So I went ahead and I cleaned this up, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this welded on. And just like that, we got the oil pan done. We got the turbo return bung on there. We've got everything cleaned out. I went ahead and cleaned it off. And since it's apart and it should be done being modified now, it's clearanced in every way, and the returns on it, I'm gonna go ahead and throw a coat of paint on it, just on the outside so it doesn't rust. Shoo-wee! We got the oil pan painted. It's looking real good. All right, so I moved over here to my workbench. We got this manifold taken off. You can see I've got a couple Sharpie marks here and here, dignifying the center of where I want this manifold to be. So I've got this piece of 2" by 3" square stock, which is a little bit bigger than I need for this, but that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna slice down both sides, and I'm gonna actually turn it into a little bit of a cone shape so it'll fit this a little bit better. And then I'm gonna also cope the other side around this manifold so it sits nice and flush on all sides. I've got my piece here. I coped it to go around this manifold nice, and I cut those relief cuts I was talking about, you can see in the corners. And then I went and I bent both ends in so that it matches up to this better. And I'm gonna get ready to put all of this together, and hopefully by the end of tonight I have all of this together and a turbo bolted on to the engine.
Start it up.
Just like that, we've got the engine back in the bay, manifolds on. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab the turbo and I'm gonna see if everything lines up, make sure everything looks okay. Hopefully we have plenty of clearance for this fender well. If not, we'll have to modify it. So that's why we test fit. Well, we've got a turbo on here. It's got about a 1/2 inch clearance or so to this side. That's plenty for now. It looks like there's plenty of room for a downpipe here, which is awesome. Now that we've got everything test fit, we've got everything good and where we want it, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start welding this thing out. So we left off, we got the oil pan on, it is starting to get sealed. All of the lines are ready, and I'm going to actually install the clutch, the flywheel, everything on the back of the engine. This hopefully is going to be one of the last times it comes out for a while. Another day working on the Supra. Here we've got all of the wiring for my 3RZ. ECU, engine harness, body harness, everything that made this thing run when I first put it together. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pull all this out and see about throwing it back on and turbocharging it. We've been at work wiring this thing all day. The sun is starting to set, but we're finally to an exciting point. I put oil in it. I've got everything ready to hear it crank, and I'm gonna actually crank it long enough to like possibly see oil flowing. I want to hear this thing do stuff because it hasn't in a long time. This is all off of the key. Isn't that a beautiful sound? So I don't have any sensors or intake, but got brake clean. Hey. I don't know if I'm gonna get anything else. I probably need more than one hand, but it fires. And, the starter's hooked up, the fuel pump's hooked up. I set my MAF in there half-assedly, and we're gonna go ahead and start it. All right, now that we have got my turbo Supra running and ready to drive,